Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Let's talk about Francis Ngannou, the man of the moment. Um, yeah, what a performance against Fury. Incredible. Uh, as I've said in a couple of previous videos, I cannot think of a better debut performance, especially against that quality of opposition, than the performance that Francis Ngannou gave against Fury. But I do think that people are getting a little bit carried away here because the WBC have announced that they may well rank Francis Ngannou. They didn't. I didn't read anyway whether they mean the top 10, the top 20. I don't know, but well, the WBC never miss a trick to cash in on anyone's success. Um, Especially when there's all those lovely, licensing fees to be had. And of course, the WBC, as you are probably aware, presented Fury with yet another special belt, another special trinket, as if he needs another one. Diamond studded thing. I don't know what the hell it was. Anyway, like he needs it, like he needs the money. But let's talk about Ngannou, because just how good can he be? Now, bear in mind that the cat's out of the bag. We know how good this guy is now as a novice. We know that he is, not just 19 stone of absolute natural weight, muscle, just an incredibly powerful physical specimen. But he can box a little bit. Decent jab, doubled up on it a couple of times. His footwork was slow, but his overall stance, maybe not the way he held his hands, but from his waist down, his footwork was not that of a converted MMA fighter. He'd been doing some work. He'd been in the gym. He'd been, listening. As we learn when we listen, and doing his drills and practicing. And he'd spent, probably 12 weeks with Mike Tyson and others. I don't think Mike Tyson was the main trainer, but, he was listening, he was learning, and he put it into action because he took Fury absolutely seriously. Ngannou himself was deadly serious about this fight. He came to win. He had great self-belief. He's got a ton of natural ability as a fighting man, as a combat sports practitioner, and he was able to give Fury living hell. Fury, a man who turned up way out of shape physically, probably didn't prepare mentally. He said he did a 12-week camp. God knows doing what. Sitting on the sofa eating ice cream, I dare say. But come on, let's give Francis Ngannou some props. But at the same time, let's not get carried away here. Because how good can he be? Well, I've heard people say, he could beat AJ, he could beat Usyk. Hang on a minute. Wind this back a bit. I don't think he is anywhere near a world-class heavyweight. Anywhere near it, okay? And I don't mean that disrespectfully in any way. Now, does that mean he'd be an easy touch for any heavyweight? Well, no, you couldn't just go in there and knock him over because he's a big, tough, strong lump. But in terms of being outboxed, outslicked, outmaneuvered, rendered impotent because he can't land his punches because the other guy's just too good, yeah, I mean, he's just way, way, way off the game. Look, if you go down the rankings for the IBF, the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO. I always miss one out. You're talking about Deontay Wilder. Well, Wilder lacks. You see, Wilder is someone that I think would probably be taken some rounds by Ngannou. Because even though he might land the right hand, Ngannou seemed to have a pretty good jaw against Fury. And yes, I know Fury doesn't hit anywhere near as hard as Wilder, but he is naturally a much bigger man and did catch Ngannou cleanly. So I don't know, maybe I still wouldn't pick Ngannou to beat Wilder, but I think he'd give him probably a tougher fight than we expect, especially considering Wilder's age, the fact that he's fought less than a round in, 2 years almost, since the third Fury fight, and also the hideous beating he took against Fury in that third fight. We don't know how much he's quite got left. But the thing about Wilder is he goes in looking to take your head off, and he goes in extremely confident, almost delusionally confident. So I would pick him to beat Ngannou, possibly by knockout, certainly on points. but almost certainly. Well, probably a stoppage on the feet, I'd imagine. Anyway. That's Wilder. AJ lacking in confidence, but too many skills for Ngannou. His chin probably isn't as bad as people make out. His chin's probably a little bit better. Yeah, Ngannou, big strong lad. I think he'd get outboxed and stopped on his feet by AJ. Then you've got people like Arslanbek Makhmudov, Frank Sanchez, Jared Anderson. Too much of everything for Ngannou, in my opinion. F.A. Ajagba has improved technically. You can see that in his last couple of fights, but stylistically, that might be an interesting one. Battle of the Africans, the big African lads. Well, they're both from West Africa, I think. Anyway, yeah, I'd watch that. But again, I think F.A. Ajagba would win it. Joseph Parker and Martin Bakole, I think too much of everything for Ngannou. I see him getting stopped on his feet in all of these, maybe even knocked out. I don't know. Philip Hrgovic, no. Even though I think Hrgovic is overrated and probably always has been, I see him being way too good for Ngannou. Zhilei Zhang, no. The size Zhilei Zhang is, he'd probably knock Ngannou out. I don't give Ngannou really a chance against any of these fighters. Even someone like Otto Wallin, who's much smaller, he'd completely outbox him. So let's forget about the world level. Let's slip down to British level. Who is the British champion at the moment? Well, it's none other than someone who performed on Saturday, Fabio Wardley, and he looked extremely good against a rather disappointing David Adeleye. And Adeleye, he really had his arse handed to him, even though he began quite well in that fight. Wardley showed, and Wardley's come from the white collar background, but he showed, again, we're talking about someone who's clearly dedicated himself to the game, has natural ability, and goes in there with a great deal of confidence, because he wasn't rattled by Wardley and Wardley's antics and the antics of Wardley's crew beforehand and all that press conference nonsense. No, he went in there and he did a job on Adeleye, and Adeleye, in fact, would just run out of ideas and ended up getting chinned and did a little drunken walk and got stopped. And, do I think Fabio Wardley would beat Francis Ngannou? Yes, I do. Again, I think he'd outbox him, he'd slash him up and, probably stop him late. I mean, I should point out, how many rounds are we talking? Well, at least 10. If it's 12, I definitely see Ngannou running out of gas and getting stopped. So, yeah, Wardley beats him. Would Adeleye beat him? With his style, you would think Adeleye would beat Ngannou, but I don't know. I do not know. I didn't see. I saw a lot that disturbed me about Adelaye's performance against Wardley. The way he ran out of ideas and the way he allowed himself to be sort of manhandled almost against a guy who was supposedly a smaller heavyweight and a less experienced heavyweight, if you include amateur fights. But no, I'd have to go for Adeleye. But Adeleye struck me as someone who doesn't like it put on him, and Ngannou would certainly put it on all these guys. And again, Ngannou would be a handful for all of them because he's just so damn big and strong, physically strong. So could he beat Adeleye? I wouldn't rule it out, but let's go down to area level. I'll tell you what, let's go down to English level first of all. Solomon Dakers, I believe, is the English heavyweight champion. Again, I would pick Dakers to beat Ngannou. But Ngannou, a big, strong lump like Ngannou, with the ability he's got, I think he'd make it tough. I could see Dakers probably outpointing him, stopping him. I wouldn't be so confident about that. I wouldn't be so confident at all about that. Would Wardley stop Ngannou? I think probably late, but again, I can see maybe Ngannou lasting the distance. Dakers stopping him. I would say Dakers would beat him on points. Yeah. And also, let's go down to Southern area level. Johnny Fisher. Would Johnny Fisher beat Ngannou? I would say yes. He'd have to outbox him. He hits hard. I think he could keep Ngannou honest. Whether he'd stop him or not, don't know. But I definitely pick him to win. So that's an area level heavyweight. Now, is any of this intended as an insult to Francis Ngannou? Of course not. The man's had one pro fight, did extremely well, almost beat Tyson Fury, almost beat the WBC heavyweight champ. Amazing performance. But the cat's out of the bag now. And every single guy I've mentioned, from British area level up to world level, knows what this guy is. They know how tough he is. And they would prepare, absolutely, knowing that they have got a tough night ahead. If they don't prepare, if they're not physically prepared, if they haven't done their runs, their circuits, all the rest of it, their drills, if they haven't lived the life, eaten the right food, got themselves in optimum physical shape and prepared mentally to walk through walls, to walk through fire, to walk on crushed glass. That's what they do with this guy. If they don't, they're a damn idiot. So big up Francis Ngannou. Yes, tremendous performance. I hope we see you again in a boxing ring. You made a believer out of me. All the MMA people who were saying, you want to pay attention to this guy, this is a threat. And bear in mind the age I am, I'm in my mid-50s now, so I should know better. I overlooked Francis Ngannou. My apologies to Francis Ngannou. My apologies to the MMA lot who were saying, watch this guy. You were right and I was wrong. I've got no shame in saying that, you know. And of course, you have to consider just how appallingly conditioned Fury was and how mentally he wasn't at the races. But even so, a man who's been fighting all his life in a boxing ring, you know, you'd think he'd be able to beat a debutant. As I've said before, by far the best debut by anyone considering the calibre of opposition in the history of boxing. If you can come up with a better one, please leave it in the comments section. Anyway, talking of comments, leave them below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button. And as always, I appreciate your time a great deal. Great fun making the videos. This is your channel as much as mine. So yeah, subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.